A Hunter in Teyvat, Chapter 100, Fan Fiction, by Azazyel. A good while later, after I went down to Inazuma City to pick up Yae Miko's fried tofu. She just ended up staring at me with a flat face and a twitching eyebrow as she saw me nonchalantly flying atop the Anemo Hypostasis. You were supposed to work hard in bringing the fried tofu here before it lost its flavor and heat. On the ground, not just flying up the mountain. Miko finished with her, placing a hand against her face as she shook her head in bemusement. I shrugged and then said wryly. You didn't say you wanted me to fight my way up the mountain on the ground. You just wanted your fresh tofu. The pink-haired kitsune nodded as that was indeed the case, and she walked over, carefully taking the platter of fried tofu from my offered hands as she spoke. In either case, welcome to the Grand Narukami Shrine. You can look around for a bit if you want, while I eat my lunch, then I can give you a lesson on electro-energy management. And without another word, Miko all but skipped away with her fried tofu while I shook my head with some amusement as I took in the beautiful shrine atop Mount Yogo. And to say the least, it was far larger than the little shrine in the game. After all, more than a dozen priestesses were living here, along with Yae Miko, the main building being a beautiful temple with several floors that had pink electro-sakura lanterns filled with a gentle flame hanging from the levels of the terraces on each floor of the shrine. Although I didn't directly enter the main building, I walked around it along the obvious path, and then I reached the main highlight of the Narukami Shrine. The Grand Sakura Tree. It was a sakura tree with beautiful dark pink flowers that seemed to whisper with the wind as it stood solidly in the very back of the shrine. But the kicker was how the tree looked like it was carved into the shape of a large fox yukai sitting upright with glowing blue spiritual light leaking through parts of the tree's bark. You are the most beautiful tree I have seen, I said softly as I laid a hand on the bark of the tree, as I imagined some kind of panel coming up looking for electro icons or whatever from opening up chests and stuff around the Inazuma Islands. But no meta thing happened as there wasn't any game logic here. Which made me snort under my breath with a fond smile. While I was about to pull my hand from the tree, I felt a tinge of my aura leave my body and enter the tree, making me blink and then quickly pull my hand off as I lightly scolded the tree. Nah, I already got a greedy goddess drinking my soul energy. And another one, I fear waking up in my soul. I finished with a wry smile. As I was very fucking nervous about what was going to happen when Beast awoke back in my soul. A voice behind me softly spoke out. I see you have naturally gravitated to the Grand Sakura Tree. Have you found something of interest? Yae Miko asked with some humor in her voice. Even though I knew she was kinda teasing, I answered frankly. Yup, the tree tried to devour a bit of my soul. Are you a terrible fox spirit that's going to munch on my soul as well? I teased in turn, and as I looked back, I got to see her lips twitch as she snorted. Ho! Maybe I will in fact take a bit. She said huskily with a flash of pink behind her body as her tails left their illusion for a moment as she glowed with power before she turned on her heels and spoke boldly. Well, come now, little disciples, I am not going to disappoint the eye after all with how you managed to get her out of the plane of euthymia. I followed Yae Miko into one of the side halls of the shrine, and within a large room was a couple of simple chairs, and between them was a basket filled with sakura flowers. Go ahead and sit down, this exercise is a bit tedious, but it can help teach you control over electro-energy, Miko spoke as she elegantly took a seat in front of me with the basket between us. After I sat down, Yae Miko leaned down and picked out a couple of flowers from the basket, and then began to explain the training exercise. The blossoms from the Grand Sakura Tree have an interesting ability to channel electro-energy without burning up. Well, up to a certain point anyway, but before that limit is reached, you can seemingly endlessly pour electro-energy into the flower. And then to prove it, the flower glowed brightly as Miko poured electro-energy within it, and then with small sparks forming between her hand and the flower, she somehow used her electro-energy to make the flower float off the palm of her hand with each arc of lightning ever so slightly pushing the flower into the air to keep it afloat. The first step I devised for this method is to simply make the flower float above your hand like this. She spoke easily, and then she took another flower and dropped it perfectly above the first one, and with a tiny flex, more power, more lightning shot from the saturated first flower into the one above it to keep the second one floating a good 3 or 4 inches above the first flower. And the second is to have another flower above that. She explained, and then before I could speak, she smiled evilly and continued. The third step is simple. Rather than keeping more flowers above building a tower, you instead keep 5 flowers in a grid of 3 by 3, all floating together at the same height. She finished making my lips twitch at the sight of 6 flowers floating while held aloft by the electro-energy. That wasn't going to be easy. As electro-energy was similar to mundane electricity in how it wanted to go with the flow along the path of least resistance, keeping a stable flow of electro to keep all the flowers floating at approximately the same height was going to be a great challenge. But I was here for training, so I got to work while Yae Miko watched over and gave me some constructive comments. Like, do you just punch people with electro? It's not a challenge to exhaust all your energy and pull back the energy. If your leaking electro ruins my hair, I am going to hit you with a stick. Very constructive comments indeed.